Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank weekend preview brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana and into the Florida Panhandle. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. The New Orleans Pelicans rebounded literally, figuratively, got a big win at Sacramento. I say a big win. Any win's big because they haven't won many this year, just 12 games. But the fact that they won this game in convincing fashion, really controlling the game from start to finish, well, that's what you wanted to see.
Yeah, and the good news came right before tip-off. Anthony Davis back from the back injury, played, and obviously that was a big factor. And I think probably, going in probably gave that team a lift. Look, they've struggled over the last week. You get Davis back out on the floor was a big lift. Now Tyreke Evans did leave the game. We'll see what his status is, but still, you finished the road trip. You wanted to be better than 1 and 2. Let's face it. While the Clippers were going to be a tough get to win, you were favored in the other 2 games in theory, and didn't get both of those. You just got one of them. So you come home after a 1 and 2 road trip, but now you've got, I think it's 8 of the next 9 at home. Mm-hmm. Friday night, starting with a game against Charlotte. Then you go to Memphis on Monday afternoon, and then you've got 6 or 7 in a row at home after that. So you've got a chance to make some hay in your own building, and you really need to at this point.
No question about it, and we'll see what Tyreke Evans' status is moving forward. They played well without him in this particular game, so Friday night at home is the next opportunity, as Lenny mentioned. Meanwhile, the LSU Tigers came from behind to beat Ole Miss, and this was some game to watch. Really entertaining. Each team had a hard time stopping the other. Moody was incredible for Ole Miss. Ben Simmons was solid for LSU, but he wasn't the man, and that's a good thing, Lenny, because other people stepped up to the forefront, and when that happens at LSU, they're good. And that happened in last night's game, and Antonio Blakeney gave them a big lift in the second half.
He did, and I would say the concern going forward with LSU is this. Simmons keeps getting himself in foul trouble. He had to leave the first half of the Kentucky game last week with 2 fouls. He had to leave the first half Wednesday night against Ole Miss with 2 fouls. Fouled out of the Florida game. And it's almost like people are going after him to a certain degree and trying to make his life difficult, and you can understand that. The guy is the number 1 freshman in the country, in all likelihood the number 1 pick in the NBA draft come this summer. So he's got a target on his chest, on his back, wherever the case may be, and he's got to learn to deal with the frustration that he's going to get from this type of situation and not commit cheap fouls, all the things that come with that. And again, like you said, other players stepped up with him not being a key part of that. One of the key stretches of that game, in my mind, was the fact Ole Miss had gotten out to a 9-point lead late in the first half. Really, LSU had a patchwork lineup on the floor with a ton of guys with 2 fouls, and LSU managed to get it back to 3 at halftime and make that a very workable margin. There was a chance there. If that goes the other way, Ole Miss has got a chance to go in a halftime, a double-digit lead. That could be a totally different ballgame in the second half.
Yeah, LSU showing that they have a little bit of depth now, and that certainly is paying off. And when you look at their schedule, they've played 4 of the really 6 good teams in the SEC at this point. The only 2 they haven't played are South Carolina and Texas A&M, so they've gotten a tough part of the schedule over with. But this looks like an underrated league to me this year.
Yeah, I think this is a league that could get 5-6 teams in the NCAA tournament, depending on how it all shakes out. A long way to go, and when you start beating up on each other, you never know how that is all going to play itself out. But still, this is an LSU team that's sitting, a game out of first in the SEC. Texas A&M, the only remaining unbeaten in the league. South Carolina was, and they lost Wednesday night at Alabama, ruined their entire unbeaten season. They had been one of the 2 remaining unbeatens left in college basketball.
Turning to the Saints, 3 hires on the coaching staff and all familiar names and guys that Sean Payton has a history with. So he goes to a comfort level here, and I think that's a comfortable thing and probably a good thing. So no real surprise here in terms of being able to bring these guys in.
Yeah, exactly. No surprise. He's brought guys back on staff before where they've gotten fired. Did it with Dennis Allen. Now he's done it with Joe Lombardi. Bringing Dan Campbell in, although he
was here briefly.
Right, he was here as a player, but is now coming back as a coach. And, of course, he was the interim coach of the Dolphins for the last 2/3 of the season.
Aaron Glenn with ties?
And Aaron Glenn with ties as well. So it's, you want some familiarity in that meeting room, and that's important, obviously, to any coach, not just Sean Payton. And we'll see. There's a couple of natural spots where these guys can land in terms of positions. Obviously, the secondary coach, Wesley McGriff, had already left for Auburn as assistant defensive coordinator. You had the quarterback spot to fill when Mike New left to take the job at Ball State. So some natural spots there. And everything else, there's no limit. This isn't like college football where you have 9 full-time assistants. If Sean Payton wants to have 25 assistants, he can have them.
Turning to high school sports, Gabrielle Jennings of First Baptist Christian, named the Gatorade Cross Country Runner of the Year in Louisiana, makes her eligible for the National Award. This is a young lady that competed on the varsity level since 5th grade and never lost a postseason race. 38 titles, remarkable accomplishment. She's heading to Furman on scholarship. Quite an award. Yeah,
congratulations. She's been a remarkable story for a long time, and she's a senior now. It seems like she's been competing for 8 years, so it seems like she's been around forever, but she's still got indoor and outdoor track season, a chance to accumulate even more titles because she'll run the 800, the 1600, the 3200, all of the distance events in both the indoor and the outdoor meet, and a chance to get a lot more titles. And you could say, look, she's competing in Class C, but you know what? Put her times up against everybody else. If this was, an all-comers type of meet, she'd be winning those as well.
And also, John Curtis losing Johnny Curtis, a namesake of the school, the son of J.T. Curtis. First family member to really leave. He goes to Ball State with Mike New as special teams coach. Too good of an opportunity to pass up, and we wish Johnny nothing but the best. Ironic, though, that's the first Curtis to leave the school.
It is. And look, it's John Curtis. It's a lot of it is all about family. If you're not directly related, you're somehow indirectly related. And there's a lot of that, whether it's through marriage and it's, other relationships. And there's a lot of family and a lot of loyalty there. And look, sometimes, as we've all experienced in life, sometimes you've got to get out of your comfort zone, go away for a little bit, and then have a chance to come back to something, to get a little bit different appreciation for things. And from that standpoint, I think this could be a great opportunity for Johnny. Wish him all the best and his family as they head to Muncie, Indiana.
And high school basketball finally continuing via SportsNOLA.com. A really good non-district matchup coming up that people can watch Friday night.
Yep, Country Day, De La Salle, two of the best teams in the area facing off. Really last chance for both of them to get a tune-up before district play gets started. District play has started in some of the larger leagues, and we'll have basketball for you and some of the other sports throughout January and February right here at SportsNOLA.com, so stay with us. Friday night, 6 o'clock right here, Country Day in De La Salle.
We sure do look forward to it. Lenny, as always, thanks. Have yourself a great weekend.
Have yourself a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
That's our First NBC Bank weekend preview brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 locations throughout the New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. He's Lenny. I'm Kenny. Have a great weekend, and God bless you.